Hello, Hadi, White, and good evening, everyone. May the 4th be with you. My name is Dan Wingham, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the 76th Annual General Meeting of Integris Community. Welcome. Bienvenue. Please note that in addition to offering our AGM as a virtual guide now, we will be live streaming to Integris Facebook. We continue to deliver our AGMs as a virtual event so that members throughout our region and in galaxies far, far away can attend, participate without incurring travel costs and with the comfort of their home. We are recording tonight's meeting to post to our website for our valued members that are unable to attend. Please note that all resources for this evening's AGM are listed on our website at www.integris.ca. Once there, please look to the very top of the page for the blog section. It is the dark blue banner along the top, just left to our points. Once you click on blog, find 2023 virtual annual general meeting. Scroll to the middle of the page where you will find the AGM resources. Clicking on AGM resources will expand the resource listing that includes last year's meeting minutes, tonight's agenda, the 2022 consolidated financial statements, and the 2022 annual report. We encourage our valued members and guests to open and review the 2022 annual report as you follow this evening. This evening, we will be using accepted standards and procedures. For some of you, participating in virtual events has become part of work and family life. For some, this may be your first virtual meeting. In any case, we are pleased that you have joined us this evening and encourage your participation. Now, before the AGM commences, I would like to share some housekeeping items to ensure that your virtual voice is heard here this evening. First, our recording secretary will monitor any opposition and will call for a count if and when required. Second, and with respect to voting on motions, when the vote is called relating to a motion on the floor, we will determine opposition to the motion by utilizing the raise a hand function as a virtual button. If you are using the Zoom app on a smart device or on your home computer, please use the raise a hand function to vote in opposition to the motion on the floor. If you have joined us by phone only, please press *9 to vote in opposition to the motion on the floor. There will be a dedicated question and answer period at the end of the meeting. But if during the course of the meeting, you have a question relating to a specific motion, please raise your hand when discussion is called for, and then type in your question using the Q&A function. If on the phone, please press *9 to indicate that you have a question. At this point, it is my pleasure to introduce you to the chair of the Integris Board of Directors, Jim Rivet. Good evening, Jim. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Dan. Hello, Hadi, and good evening, everyone. My name is Jim Rivet. On behalf of your Integris Board of Directors, I would again like to welcome you to our 76th Annual General Meeting. I would like to begin by recognizing that Integris operates on the DeKalb territory in north central BC and the Secwepemc territory in Clinton. Integris is headquartered in Prince George on the Kwale territory. It is my honor to introduce, by way of pre-recorded message, a special welcome from Kwale Elder Darlene McIntosh and Prince George Mayor Simon Yu.
Hadi, I hope everybody's feeling well going into their 76th Integris AGM, and it's my honor, being an elder with Kwale Nation, to be able to welcome you to our unceded ancestral traditional territories of Kwale. We, the Clayton Nation, have been on our traditional lands over 9,000 years and supported by lithic evidence. The changes that have taken place over thousands of years supports the enduring strength, courage, and fortitude of our peoples. Our governance through the balance and harmony with our brothers and sisters of other First Nations people. Lheidli clans are Prague, Wasiliu, Grouse, Utsut, Beaver, Saw, and Bear Sus. Through this system, we know who our family connections are. Through our oral history, the use of legends told of our travels, our hunting and fishing territories, our trading practices with all peoples. May remember and hold steadfast in what Creator's blessed us with, and that is our traditional territories. Our ancestors have always welcomed people to our territories. On behalf of Lheidli elders, our youth, community members, and Chief and Council, it is absolutely our honor to welcome each and every one of you to our traditional territories. All my relations must see. Thank you.
Good evening. Welcome to 76 Integris AGM. It's been a while. 76 years is a long time. I will, on behalf of the City Council and the citizen of Prince George, I would just like to welcome you to the AGM. And we would like to acknowledge this virtual meeting is taking place on the unceded ancestral land of Clayton, on whose land we work, live, and play. You are very important. As a financial institution, as a mayor, I recognize not only the great work you do, I'm more impressed that all the profits you generate as a credit union stay locally to help our citizens, to build our region, to build our city. I will very much wish you the great success in the years ahead. And I hope you guys have a great AGM together tonight. I'm looking forward to meet all of you in person as a member, as your mayor. Thank you very much.
Musi, and thank you, Elder McIntosh and Mayor Yu. Board of Directors. At this time, I would like to introduce your Board of Directors. Our 2022 annual report includes information on each director, how long they have served as a director, what community they served you from, as well as what board committees they served on over the past year. I encourage you to learn a little more about each of them as they are here to serve you, the members of Integris. The board chair is myself, Jim Rivet. Our vice chair is Cheryl Wallace. The Integris corporate secretary is Wendy Fellers. And our member at large is Alexandra Kozeltine. This team is the executive committee at Integris. Next slide. On the next slide, we have directors Jennifer Wilczuk, JP Winger, and Jillian Merrick. Next slide. The remaining three directors, Aaron Sinclair, Norm Schmidt, and Tim Bennett. A special thanks to all the directors for their service and dedication to Integris. Executive team. Here on the slide in front of you is our executive team led by our CEO, Allison Hoskins. Allison has been the CEO since I joined the board 5 years ago and is well respected in the credit union community. Jeff Anderson is the VP IT and has also been in the position since I started. And he is the guy who keeps our systems and your information safe, as well as ensuring that business as a whole benefits from any technology advancements. Amy O'Brien has been our VP of Finance for the last 2 years and is the architect of the financial plan that makes Integris a success. Our VP of Operations is Brenda Astorino and has been VP of Operations since I joined the board. She is the person to go to for any operation issues or knowledge. Van Tay has stepped in as interim VP Peoples and has been able to move the yardsticks forward on staff retention. Lastly, when it comes to our in-house second look at the risks we take while we conduct business, our VP of Risk, Harmolik Brar, is our man and has been with us for 2 years. Thank you, and I would like to call the meeting to order at 6:40. Quorum for our AGM is 40 members. I declare quorum with 96 members and 6 guests. I acknowledge that we have a number of special guests in attendance from BCSFA, Stabilization Central, the PRA Group, MNP, and multiple neighboring credit unions. We also have a number of past directors in attendance this evening. I would like to make a special mention and thanks to Noella Herod, Dave Barry, Hank Hannemeyer, Bruce Steele, and Peter Volk. Thank you for your attendance. I apologize if I've forgotten anyone. Appointment of Recording Secretary. I hereby appoint Jennifer Lalonde as our recording secretary for this evening's meeting. Appointment of Parliamentarian. I hereby appoint Robin Craig from HSJ Lawyers in Prince George as our parliamentarian for the meeting this evening. Thank you, Robin. Adoption of agenda and rules of order. Our board uses Robert's Rules of Order, in which will prevail unless otherwise directed by myself or the parliamentarian of the meeting. At the end of the meeting this evening, we will host a question and answer period. We will use the Integris rules of debate, and those rules will be displayed on the screen for you just prior to the question and answer period. At this time, I would like to call for a motion to adopt the agenda for the annual general meeting of May the 4th, 2023, as presented. The motion is moved by Kathy Mercedes and seconded by Sarah Thompson. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Is anyone opposed to the motion? If so, please raise your hand. Seeing none, that motion is carried. Adoption of the minutes from April 27th, 2022, or in other words, our previous AGM. The minutes from the 75th Annual General Meeting held on April 27th, 2022 are posted on the website. We thank you for reviewing them. At this time, I will call for a motion to approve the minutes of the Annual General Meeting of April 27th, 2022. Moved by Tammy Cathcart, seconded by Allison Bloom. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Is anyone opposed to the motion? Please raise your hand. That motion is carried. Business arising from the minutes. There is no business arising from the minutes of the 2022 Annual General Meeting. Director's report. At this time, I will present the board chair report. First off, thank you to my fellow directors for another great year at Integris. Over 2022, the board of directors continued to work hard on enhancing our governance processes so that as the risks for financial institutions everywhere change, we have the structure in place to ensure that there is strong oversight for your financial assets. We attracted 3 diverse and talented leaders to our board, which rounded out a talented board of directors. Members like you with your best interests in their every decision. Our board continues to exercise oversight over how they govern, keeping travel costs to an minimal amount by holding 80% of their meetings virtually in 2022. COVID taught us how to run effective meetings in a virtual setting. And with a geographic territory as vast as our members, we have opted to continue to hold virtual AGMs. These virtual AGMs enable our members all the way as far south as Clinton, to the west Fraser Lake, and to the north Fort St. James, can all opt to exercise their membership rights. Following last year's AGM, the board decided to permanently reduce the number of director seats to 10. The board feels this number of seats is a good-sized board for a growing credit union. In June, the board and the executive leadership met for an all-day strategic planning session. 2022 was year 2 of the current strategic plan, which means the board and the executive will begin planning for the next 3-year plan for 2024 through to 2026. In June, we published our market code of conduct so that you, our members, have a transparent lens into how we act in your best interest, how we take care to protect vulnerable members, and how we demonstrate accountability to you. The board continues to focus on recruitment of future directors to attract a diverse, knowledgeable, experienced board to serve the future of Integris. The upcoming reports from our CEO and our VP Finance will highlight our achievements over the past year. We look forward to hearing from them shortly. The annual report is included on our Integris website for your review. I encourage you all to have a look at the report. It includes messages from our teams in operations, member experience, finance, community, and partnerships. You can also find an update on our insurance and financial planning departments, risk management, and commercial services. And with that, I would like to say on behalf of myself and the board as a whole, I congratulate and thank Allison and her team for another successful year achieved through hard work and a commitment to our members. I know this is a virtual event, but on Zoom, you have a clapping hands emoji. So please, everyone, a round of applause for Allison and her team. And with that, I would like to call for a motion to accept the director's report as presented. The motion is moved by Jessica Robertson and seconded by Kim Knott. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. Is anyone opposed to the motion? Please raise your hand. And that motion is carried. At this time, I will call on our CEO, Allison Hoskins, to deliver the CEO report. Thank you. Over to you, Allison.
Thank you so much, Jim. Hello, Hadi. Every year, the process of creating our annual report and preparing for our AGM provides for an opportunity to reflect upon the year behind us. It creates a space to give spotlight to our accomplishments and offers us time to give thanks to a system that honors its clients and customers as only members can be. As a member-owned financial institution, how we celebrate and close our year in an all members, all account holders AGM is one of the truly unique differences of a cooperative institution. Like so many industries, your credit union is changing. You notice it, you acknowledge it in your feedback, and we have to change. You are asking it of us. We change to keep pace with your changing expectations, with the choices that you have for banking, your insurance, and your wealth needs. We change because today the risks are different. The opportunities are abundant. Although our world is far more complex than when credit unions and cooperatives entered the financial services playground, at our very heart and soul, we are still your credit union. Over half of our membership chooses to bank digitally for some or all of your day-to-day banking. The credit union is investing heavily in modernizing our payment platforms and our digital banking offerings. Whether you are one of those members choosing to bank through an app on your phone or our web-based offering on your personal computer, we are proud of the safety of the systems that we provide. Our IT security and privacy policies are under constant review and subject to independent audit to ensure that we have implemented an environment that we can assure you has the utmost level of care and attention to keep your finances safe. If you are the other half of our members, you are likely seeing lots of changes at the front end of our business. Like most organizations since COVID, we have seen our fair share of staff come and go. However, we are truly proud of the team that we have in our member-facing roles and all the rest of them. These people are passionate about your finances and making sure that you get the experiences you are looking for when you come to see us in our branches. And if you are in either of these categories and you have an email address on record with us, you will likely have received one or more survey links from us throughout the year. These surveys are taken very seriously and give you an opportunity to help us better serve you. Whether you had a great experience and you want to make sure that we keep on doing what makes you happy, or you have some feedback to help us be better, we are listening and we are striving to be better with the feedback you provide. Today, Amy O'Brien, our Vice President of Finance, will share information on our financial results, so I will leave that fun to her. Instead, I'm going to focus elsewhere. With our roots in history, we acknowledge the important social value credit unions inherently bring to our communities and to our members. This year, we are proud to issue the first environmental, social, and governance, what we call our ESG impact report, a deliverable of our new ESG strategy that was approved by the board at the end of 2021. Credit unions are founded in social purpose, and it's about time we tell you and the rest of our communities about the great work that we are doing to better serve your lives and the communities in which we live, work, and play. With community as a pillar of the Integris strategy, Integris has a long-standing history of engaging with strong social purpose through community engagement and enrichment. The history of the work that Integris has done in supporting social impact has been extensive. Integris believes that through the execution of a holistic environmental, social, and governance considerations in all aspects of our strategy, we can better leverage our commitment to enriching community with a greater connection to growth and membership engagement. Through these outcomes, we can better ensure the longevity of the impact that Integris can make in our surrounding geographic region. Through collaboration with the board, executive, and senior leadership, as well as other stakeholders, we have worked to capture the role Integris can have in guiding our operational execution of ESG. ESG can and does mean different things to different people. So landing on what it means here at Integris is an important part of this strategic work. ESG is not about philanthropy. It's about business. And the cooperative model is an excellent framework to leverage value through ESG for our members. Our commitment and work on ESG is an opportunity to do a better job of telling our members and hopefully our prospective members through our broader community, all of the ways in which we are enriching your community. And this inaugural ESG report, released online late this afternoon, is our first go doing just that. The cooperative values that we were founded on and continue to live today are a natural building block for a better and more sustainable banking experience, because where you bank matters. This work is just one more reason to choose Integris. So I encourage you to check out our impact report. Like I said, this is go number one at what we intend to be an iterative process as we refine and build on this important strategic work. You will likely see that a lot of organizations are beginning to issue these public reports, some out of regulatory requirement and some out of strategic alignment. We do expect to have reporting requirements in coming years, but for now, our version of ESG impact is about telling our story of enrichment. As we continue to build our internal systems to better capture and enable measurement of the items that are impacting our communities, our reporting will transform. We are proud of what we do, so please share this with your friends, your neighbors, and our members, because together we can do more. And so before I turn this back to Jim, I want to take one moment to give thanks not only to our members, but also to our staff. Because without all of you, what we do just wouldn't be possible. My sincerest thanks. Jim.
Thank you, Allison. At this time, I will call for a motion to accept the CEO report as presented. Thank you. Moved by Terry Allison, seconded by Cheryl Wallace. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Is anyone opposed to the motion? If so, please raise your hand. That motion is carried. Next up is our financial report. I would like to call our VP Finance, Amy O'Brien. At the end of this financial presentation, you will have an opportunity to ask questions. A reminder, you can submit any questions through the Q&A button on your device. If you are on a phone and you have a question, press *9, and you will be unmuted and asked to identify yourself. Thank you. Amy, over to you.
Thanks very much, Jim. Welcome, bienvenue, and Hadi. Everyone, thank you for being here. As a member of Integris, I know that the financial health of the credit union is important to you, and I am pleased to present summary consolidated financial statements for Integris to you today. These summary financial statements are available to you in our annual report, and as a member, if you would like more information, you can request the full consolidated financial statements with all of the notes from your branch. So let's start with the credit union's assets. In 2022, the Bank of Canada increased the overnight rate by 4%. This in turn led to an increase in interest rates for loans and deposits. A high interest rate environment led to a lack of appetite for new investment through the utilization of credit. The retail housing market slowed down and investors needed to see a much larger return on investment to make leveraging an investment through financing worth their while. Integris did see retail mortgage growth of over $8 million, but saw reductions in the higher interest rate debt, retail loans, and commercial loans. Members used cash to pay down debt in many cases, which impacted deposits, which you'll see a little bit more of on the next slide. The reductions in cash and investments is related to the deposit movement, which I will get into here just on the next slide. In 2022, we saw a decline in member deposits of approximately $46 million. Although this sounds like a lot of money, in 2020 and 2021, the COVID years, they were exceptionally good to our deposits. In those 2 years, we saw deposits increase by 89 million and 58.5 million respectively, and therefore still hold over 100 million more in deposits than we did at the end of 2019, our pre-COVID balance sheet. As previously stated, some of these funds went to pay down debt to reduce interest costs for members. There were some funds that came in during COVID for specific projects that started to complete with funds outgoing, as well as a bit of revenge spending, and reduced inflow from government subsidizing the actions taken during COVID. Some term deposits did transfer out. At some points during the year, deposit rates being offered outside of Integris were more beneficial to members. But our financial planning office was able to consistently get the best rates for our members, and approximately 26 million or 57% of the deposits that we saw leave the credit union went over to financial planning with the members' best interest in mind. The connections made for members with the financial planning staff resulted in deepening relationships between members and our subsidiaries and positive financial impacts for members, all in one place. The change in derivative financial instruments is due to fair market value fluctuations and significant due to the large increase in rates in 2022. Our lease liabilities were reduced as the leases were paid down over the course of the year, and deferred tax liabilities were reduced due to the tax treatment of other comprehensive income, which we'll talk about a little bit more after the presentation of the income statement. Liquidity is an important measure for any credit union or financial institution. Liquidity metrics are monitored to ensure that a financial institution has adequate funds available to fund loans and provide our members with their deposits when they need them. The minimum liquidity required to be held by a Canadian financial institution is 8% of all deposits. You can see that on the graph in the light yellow. The liquidity that we have available for our members at Integris is more than 3 times the required minimum at 30.31% of deposits at the end of 2022. Integris holds excess liquidity in high quality liquid assets to ensure that they are quickly available for our members when they need them. Retained earnings went up in 2022 by $1.255 million. This is the earnings after dividends and taxes. Member shares were down $357,500. However, the dividend distribution for 2022 was more than double what it had been in the previous year and contributed over $600,000 to member shares through dividend reinvestment. Contributed equity does not change, as this is the contributed retained earnings from the amalgamation of Nechako and District Credit Union, Quesnel and District Credit Union, and PG Credit Union. Accumulated other comprehensive income is the measure of unrealized losses on investments and financial contracts, which were impacted by the significant change in interest rates in 2022. These losses are not expected to be realized, and we have already seen improvements of nearly $1.1 million in the first quarter of 2023. I will spend more time talking about accumulated other comprehensive income, which you may hear me refer to as AOCI, after the presentation of the income statement. Capital is another very important ratio and requirement for credit unions. Capital, especially in the form of retained earnings, provides a buffer and protects members and our system against negative risks in our industry. The minimum required capital adequacy ratio is 8%, and as of December 2022, Integris held more than double that amount in its Tier 1 or core capital, providing a solid buffer from losses and a base for continued growth. This excess capital could be seen as a negative in that it could be leveraged for greater return on investment. And while we do have a plan to deploy capital and bring greater benefit to our members, it will be done on the back end of the current external economic challenges. In this uncertain environment, we feel that the additional capital is prudent in managing any risk to the credit union. Now the income statement. Interest income on loans dropped year over year due to the decline in the high interest rate portfolios. As I mentioned, on the asset side, that was our retail loans and lines of credit and commercial loans and lines of credit. Even though we did see some retail mortgage growth, the portfolio yields are lower due to the types of security and the net result is a reduction in interest income. The interest on member loans is also down due to a significant number of mortgages repricing in 2021 at the low end of the interest rate curve, for which this was the first year that we saw 12 months of that impact on our earnings. This is beneficial for members with lending and also means that a large portion of our members won't see their loans repriced in 2023 in this higher interest rate environment. Interest on investments went up as the interest rates rose throughout the year. So despite a reduction in our investments, the 4% increase in yield offset the reduction in investments, providing some positive impact on investment income, interest income. Interest on member deposits was down due to a reduction in deposits on book at the credit union, utilizing the financial planning subsidiary to place our members' deposits into high rate GICs gave our members more choices. Before provision or recovery on impairment charges on member loans, financial margin was just under 100,000 less than 2021. In 2021, the recovery of a high-risk commercial account resulted in a large recovery of provisioning that had been set up, resulting in a bit of an anomaly. In 2022, with high interest rates and potential increases in unemployment, Integris set up additional buffers in case of credit losses. Other operating income was slightly higher than the previous year, and a lot of that can be attributed to the growth that we've seen in our subsidiaries, our Integris Insurance Services and Integris Financial Planning. Operating expenses were slightly lower than previous year as management and staff worked hard to reduce expenses in a tight margin environment. Distributions to our members were up, like I said, over 100% year over year, rewarding our members for their continued support of Integris and reflecting a rate in line with market rates on other investments. Integris' investment shares provide an opportunity for you, our members, to invest in your credit union. It is yet another way you can directly enable a stronger community, something you can be very proud of, and it's an ethical investment option. Income taxes are reflective of both the reduction in the net income year over year and the tax provisions on other comprehensive income. Profitability is important for sustainability and future growth of the credit union, and Integris has been consistent in its earnings for over the last 5 years. As we see the impacts of very low mortgage rates and increasing rates on deposits, our return on income declined slightly in 2022, and this trend will continue for another year. Integris' balance sheet is more sensitive to short-term rates due to the tendency of members who prefer to keep their funds in short-term deposits, averaging 1 to 2 years, while stretching out the terms of their lending on average closer to 5 years. This means that while short-term rates are high, interest expense will rise faster than interest income. However, as the loans mature and refinance, the increases in interest income will catch up starting in 2024. As I shared on the capital slide, we have more than adequate capital buffer to go through this cycle. The rates have settled down, though, in the last couple of months, and economic indicators are pointing towards some normalization of inflation in mid-2023. The bond market is pricing in reductions in the rate from Bank of Canada in late 2023 or early 2024. All right, I told you I would get into the accumulated other comprehensive income and other comprehensive income so that there's a really good understanding of what this means. So due to the significant changes in these two pieces, we've dedicated a couple of slides to explaining these two things. First of all, accumulated other comprehensive income, you saw on the equity part of our balance sheet. That's the accumulation of what happens every year, kind of adding together. Other comprehensive income is what has happened this year to unrealized losses or changes in market value on investments and derivative contracts. So it is important to know that these expenses or losses have not been realized. In 2022, the rapid increase in rates had a negative impact on any investments or derivative contracts that were not variable rate in nature. So Integris has two financial instruments that are contributing to these unrealized losses. The first is derivative contracts. So these are contracts whereby we have agreed to pay a variable rate of interest based on a notional amount. And conversely, we get paid a fixed rate of interest on that notional amount. So when rates are very low, we get paid the set rate of interest on those contracts. But as rates increase over that set rate of interest, we then start to pay interest on those contracts. The intent of this contract is to smooth out variability of earnings on our variable rate assets. So we hold variable rate loans and investments on our books as well. So if the interest rates are low, these contracts are paying Integris, but when they increase over the contracted rate, we start to pay our counterparty. Increasing interest rates also means that the variable rate loans and investments are paying more, so increasing our interest income and offsetting the cost of the derivative contract. The second group is our high quality liquid assets. These investments are primarily in bonds, which have a set interest rate and time frame. The saleability of the bonds change when the market rates change, and in order for the purchaser to get the same interest rate as they would on another investment in the market, the price of the bond needs to be reduced. So for example, if you were to purchase a $100,000 bond at January 1st, 2022, with an interest rate of 1%, and let's say that bond was going to be fully repaid back to you 3 years down the road. At the end of 2022, you decided that you needed the money and you needed to sell that bond. So you tried to sell that $100,000 bond with a 1% yield to someone else. At that time, that person could go out and get a bond that would be giving them an interest rate of 4%. So they wouldn't likely want to take you up on that deal. And you would have to discount the actual price of that bond for it to make it worthwhile for that purchaser to take that opportunity. Integris's plan is not to sell these investments, but hold them to maturity, which means that no loss will be realized. So each of these financial instruments has a large, you could say even similar, invested or contractual value. The difference in the unrealized losses at the end of 2022 is due to the duration of the portfolio and the starting dates of the financial instruments. The investment portfolio has an average duration time that we hold it for of less than 1 year, while the derivative portfolio has a remaining duration of 2 to 4 years. The unrealized losses are due to a change in market expectations between the time that Integris purchased these instruments and the market expectations at the end of 2022. Integris does take a hold to maturity approach with its investments and has entered the derivative contracts to reduce interest rate risk that is inherent in our portfolio. The value of the swap or the derivative moves inversely to the value of the variable rate assets that Integris holds, and the combination provides for stable earnings between the two. There is no expectation that Integris will need to realize these losses, and in the first quarter of 2023 have seen improvements of almost $1.1 million in accumulated other comprehensive income as a result of the stabilization of interest rates. As interest rates come down and these financial instruments move towards maturity, the AOCI and OCI will reduce to zero. Members' equity reduced in 2022 by $4.13 million, primarily due to the impact of the comprehensive loss, which includes unrealized losses of just over $5 million through OCI or other comprehensive income. Member share investments were lower this year, with interest rates on short-term investments at upwards of 5%. This trend was to place money in GICs and not equity shares. Redemption of shares was similar to previous years, with some requests to move money to different investments to take advantage of better yields. The dividend rates on equity and member shares are not known until the board passes the resolution, normally in the last quarter of the year, and is based on factors including profitability, current market rates, and capital requirements. The board did pass a resolution for dividend rates of 3% and 4% on our A shares and C shares respectively. The rates are backdated to January 1st of that year, providing a yield that would have been better than a short-term rate on those funds invested at the same time that year. This graph shows that the C share investments have historically received rates in excess of the 10-year non-redeemable rate, rewarding those who invest in the credit union for their investment. Credit union shares are only available to members. They do have redemption restrictions in order to ensure there is stability of capital, but the invested dollars are held at par value and do not fluctuate with the market. For these reasons, it is important to the board and the credit union that members are rewarded for their investment in their credit union and make these decisions with that in mind. Credit unions are different. We are community-based, from here, all in, for you. The three pillars of our model are members, community, and staff, and the financial contributions that we make to each of these core pillars are shown above. In 2022, we increased the financial contributions to community and to members by way of dividend distributions. And while we hope these direct contributions are reflective of the work you would want your credit unions to be doing, please know that this is not the full scope of what we do. Integris supports our communities by investing in infrastructure and banking services to small communities in our region, by providing local staff on the phones and at the branches who know you, our members, are the reason why we're here. You can find a lot more on what we're doing throughout your annual report, so I will leave it at that, and I'll pass it back to Jim for the approval of the report and statements.
Thank you, Amy. At this time, I will call for a motion to approve the finance report, including the 2022 financial statements as presented. Moved by Mel Wilson, seconded by Van Tay. In order to give, this is the time now that you could ask questions, and in order to give you time to ask those questions, I will pause for a short time and await any questions. Seeing no questions, then I will call the question on the motion. If anyone is opposed, please raise your hand. And that motion is approved. The auditor's report. I would like to call on Cindy Thompson from MNP to present the auditor's report. Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you for having me at your meeting today. It's been our pleasure to once again have served your credit union and the members as your auditor for the year ended December 31st of 2022. Our locally based team of professionals have served the membership of Integris as your auditor for many years now. MNP has offices in many of the same communities that you serve. And as we come to the close of another year serving your credit union, we would very much like to thank the management team and the staff for the assistance that they've given us during the course of our audit. Tonight, rather than read you the audit report that is in your reports in front of you, we feel it is appropriate to present to you what that report really means. We are required to conduct our audit in accordance with Canadian generally accepted auditing standards. As your auditor, it's important that we remain independent of Integris. This allows us to conduct our tests, ask lots of questions, and look for a variety of information necessary to arrive at our opinion on these financial statements and the related disclosures within. I'm pleased today to say that we are in a position to confirm with a high level of confidence that these financial statements, as presented by Amy, do present fairly the operations and the financial position for December 31st. What you have in front of you today is an unmodified opinion on the financial statements of 2022. We look forward to serving you into the future as your credit union serves the needs of its members and contributes to the successful future of our region. We appreciate Integris's commitment to our communities in Northern BC And M&P is a local firm with the same commitment to our communities, and we share many of the same values as the credit union system. Thank you for having us as a part of your team.
Thank you, Cindy. I will at this time call for a motion to accept the auditor's report as presented for 2022. Thank you, Donna Noel. Seconder, Tim Bennett. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Is anyone opposed to the motion? If so, please raise your hand. And that motion is carried. At this time, I would like to call on our director, Wendy Fellers, as chair of the audit committee. Thank you, Wendy.
Thanks, Jim. One of the main purposes of the audit committee is to oversee Integris's financial reporting process and to review with external auditors the audited financial statements that are submitted to the membership at our annual general meeting. At this time, I would like to put forward a resolution on behalf of the audit committee recommending the accounting firm of MNP be appointed as the external auditor for 2023, and the board of directors be authorized to fix the remuneration of these auditing services. Back to you, Jim.
Thank you, Wendy. I will ask for a seconder to that motion. Thank you, Corey Ramsey. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Is anyone opposed to accepting the motion? Please raise your hand. And that motion is carried. Nominating committee report. I'd like to call Wendy Fellers back to the podium as chair of the nominating committee to give the report on the committee's activities related to the 2023 director election. Wendy?
Thanks again, Jim. Okay, one of the responsibilities of the nominating committee is to facilitate the process for nominating and electing directors to the board of Integris Credit Union. In January 2023, the Integris Board of Directors Nominating Committee issued a call for nominations seeking member candidates to fill 4 director seats. During the fall of 2022, the nominating committee hosted a director information session. This was a continuation of a session we hosted in 2021. The sessions are aimed at educating members that may be interested in becoming a director for Integris. During the session, we shared what the role of a director does for a credit union and information on the governance and operations of Integris Board of Directors. We presented information on what directors are responsible for, everything from education requirements to meetings with the board and to community involvement. These sessions are key to our success as the board continues to search for eligible members that will form a diverse, educated, and involved board of directors for Integris. With a large election year of having 4 seats available, the nominating committee accepted the nomination papers from 3 members, 1 being our incumbent and 2 experienced members. As we only received 3 eligible applications this year, the board will have 1 remaining seat in which it has been decided that the board will appoint a member into a 1-year seat effective until next year's AGM. Sadly, we say goodbye to 2 outgoing directors, Jen Wilczek and Jillian Merrick. We will miss you. Thank you for your service, and Jim will mention more later. This year, directors were elected by acclamation. On behalf of the nominating committee, we would like to congratulate and welcome Cheryl Wallace back to the board. Cheryl will begin her 3rd 3-year term with Integris. The board later this evening will appoint Norm Schmitz back to the board for a 1-year term. Norm will be completing his 10th year with the board this year, and a special thank you to him for stepping into a 1-year appointment. Both join us from Prince George. We thank both directors. Together, they bring over 15 years of experience to the Integris board. I'm happy to announce that we have 2 new members that will serve as 3-year terms and join the board effective later this evening. The new directors are Jerry Thiessen and Darren Ditto. Jerry joins us from the community of Vanderhook and brings years of experience in board governance, real estate knowledge, and local community. Darren joins us as a new director from Prince George. Darren brings a wealth of knowledge in IT and leadership. We thank you all for stepping forward to join the Integris Board of Directors, and we look forward to working with you. I want to take a moment and offer a special thank you to the staff at Integris. The past couple of years' success of the nominating period showed us how much our staff cares about our credit union. Both new directors have been referred by staff members, so thank you for your dedication to the Board of Directors. What you do here at Integris matters, and we want to say a special thank you for what you do. This concludes my report on behalf of the nominating committee. Thank you. Back to you, Jim.
Thank you, Wendy. At this time, I'll call for a motion to accept the nominating committee report as presented. Thank you, Karen Carver. Seconded, Jennifer Wilczek. Any questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Is anyone opposed to the motion? If so, please raise your hand. And that motion is carried. New business. Moving on with the next item on the agenda, new business. This year, we do not have any new business to discuss this evening. So let's move on to good and welfare. Tonight, as you may have caught in the nominating committee's report, we have two directors that will retire from the board. Jennifer Wilczek joined the board in 2014. In her 9-year tenure with the board, she was an invaluable member of the executive committee and served as the corporate secretary. And Jennifer also chaired the board's investment and lending committee. We thank her for her years of service, dedication to Integris, and do wish her well in her future. Julian Merritt is the second director that will retire, again from the board. Julian started as the director with Integris back in 2016. She completed one full term and retired from the board in 2019. In 2021, our board was in a position to fill a 1-year appointment, and Julian offered to fill the seat. In the 2022 election, Julian was elected into a 1-year seat. This year, we will see her retire once again. Julian joined us from the small community of Wells. We thank her for her dedication to Integris and wish her well in all her future endeavors. Now, membership prize draw. Thank you to everyone in attendance this evening. I am proud of Integris and look forward to many more future years with our credit union. With a strong board and an amazing leadership team led by our CEO, Allison Hoskins, the future looks bright for Integris. Thank you to my fellow directors. 2022 was another successful year for our board. Thank you again to all of you for your service. Thank you to our management and staff for staying with Integris through the challenging yet rewarding year, continuing to show up and do your best work. We are honored to have you chosen Integris for your career. We could not be here without our members. To you, a great big thank you for supporting your local credit union. When you invest in Integris, Integris can invest back in our communities. We thank you for your continued support as we are excited for the future. With that, I would like to express tokens of gratitude for celebrating our 76th annual general meeting. During the meeting, we randomly selected 2 members. And the 2 members are Georgina B. and Evelyn D. And we will be in touch with those members to coordinate delivery of their prizes. Adjournment. This concludes the business of the 76th Annual General Meeting. Once again, thank you. I will at this time call for a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:30. Moved by Norm Schmidt. Thank you again. We are adjourned. Dan, I will hand this over to you to moderate the question and answer period. Dan?
Thank you, Jim. We have provided an opportunity to submit questions prior to this evening. We will address those questions initially, and then any questions that have come through the Q&A function. Please feel free to submit any questions through the Q&A function on your device, and we will respond accordingly. If you are joining us by phone only, please press *9. If you have issues or troubles, please try pressing *9 one more time. We welcome questions from Integris members only, and a reminder, please begin by stating your first and last name. For those joining us by phone, I will now read our rules of debate for this question and answer period. Speakers will address the chair at all times and must be recognized before speaking. Upon recognition by the moderator, the speaker will state their name. Only members of Integris Credit Union shall be entitled to the floor. Members have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak at a time and no more than twice on the same question. We have a couple more minutes for questions. Going once. Going twice. Understand that there is a question. Just 1 minute. We're determining how best and who best to answer the question. This time, I'd like to invite Allison Hoskins back to the podium.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. So I'll just share the question that has come in. And the question is, does Integris have plans in the upcoming future to provide more to their surrounding communities? And so typically our AGM, we're looking at kind of the year in the past, but I'm happy to kind of address a bit of the governance around this question. So every year, the executive leadership team puts together an annual plan that's in alignment with the strategic plan, and we build a budget in order to execute on that. The budget is approved by the board of directors, and we do make an effort to balance our strategies around the 3 pillars of community, staff, and members. So from year to year, the weighting, depending on strategy, may change. As I hope you gathered from my report here this evening and sort of my commentary around ESG, we do certainly see the value that we bring to community as a really important part of our overall strategy. And we do endeavor to work to enrich community the best that we can. So, yeah. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Allison. Well, we'll hold again for another question. Going once. Going twice. This concludes the 76th Annual General Meeting of Integris Credit Union. Thank you, Mussy Cho, for joining us this evening. We, your all-in Integris staff, thank each and every one of you for choosing Integris. Your choice to bank, insure, and plan enriches life out here. We hope to see you all again next year for our 77th AGM. Thank you and good night.